Uh, so I'd like to welcome our guest, Ravisha Sharma. She is our current final year, and she has been a past fellow of MLH. Uh, Welcome, Ravisha.
Hi, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay, thank you so much, Tapan, for inviting me. And yeah, hello everyone, and welcome to the session. I hope you all are excited to know about MLH Fellowship, and you have kind of, some idea about how things work, or like, at least you're expecting to, know something new about it. So, is there any way, Tapan, we can interact with the audience in any way?
They can post the questions through the chat. I'll convey them to you.
Okay, so you will be letting me know the questions, right?
Yeah, actually, we planned that we'll take the questions from the audience at the end. Will that be fine?
Uh, yeah, okay. Let's say I just ask some interactive questions. They'll be able to react or anything, right?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, hello everyone. So I guess I'll start by introducing myself. I'm a final year student, as Tapan mentioned, and I have been a WTF Google Scholar, and that's how I know Supriya, who happened to invite me for the event. And apart from that, the next thing I did was MLH Fellowship. And ever since I did MLH Fellowship, there have been like numerous questions on my LinkedIn profile that keep coming on my DMs, and people keep asking me almost the same repetitive questions all the time, because I think that's the set of questions that keep coming in people's minds, and they're always concerned about just four or five stuff that bothers them. That's it. Yeah, okay. So after that, I also led my campus as a Google Developer Students Club lead. And recently, I did a summer internship at Credit Suisse. And yeah, that was like a broad introduction about myself. Moving forward, if we talk about the MLH Fellowship, Tapan has, that is how the format of the session, right? I just start talking about MLH. Or do you have any format? Can't hear you.
You can start like.
Okay. All right. So MLH Fellowship is basically an internship alternative. So it's like, for software engineers, professionals, as well as students like us, we can go ahead and apply. And if we get selected, we get a chance to, work in teams. And basis your track. For example, if you apply for uh, the pre-fellowship track, you are a beginner and you work in teams to learn different technologies in a very beginner friendly manner. And let's say you choose another track, you work similarly on that. So it really depends on the track on which you're applying. We'll come to that later. And it would help you basically get the industry in experience somewhat, but without being under the pressure of a lot of, you know, um that kind of job pressure or corporate pressure that is, there out there. That won't be on you. It would be more of a learning experience. So that is why they call it an internship alternative. And it's a very good opportunity. It's a global opportunity, and you get to network with a lot of people, and you get to you get to expose yourself to things that you were not there, exposing yourself in your normal day-to-day college. Because in college, generally we have the tendency to study a subject and give the exams, and that's it, right? And mostly we engineers have the habit of studying right 1 week before the examination. So it's mostly like we are having fun the entire semester, and 1 week before the exams we are getting mad over the subject. So that's how the pattern keeps going on. But when you become a part of MLS Fellowship, you have this self-driven tendency to learn something new, learn a new technology, or uh, push yourself out of your comfort zone. And you're not basically aiming to get good marks in some examination. You're just aiming to hone your own skills. So that's how it, kind of separates, differentiates your normal classroom from what you do at MLH. So let's talk about the various tracks, and maybe we
Uh,
can just share the website with them, the link, and then we can talk about it.
yes. Okay. So do you want to share the link, or are you going to share your screen?
I can share my screen. Yeah, sure. Are you able to
Yes.
see my screen?
Yes.
So you see, this is the website of MLH, and if you scroll down, okay, so the basic thing is that it's a 12-week internship. So you also get a stipend, by the way. It's one of the perks of MLH Fellowship that you get a stipend, and it's fully remote, so you don't have to worry about the office location and all of that stuff. And okay, let's move forward, and I'll show you. They're also partnered with these big names: GitHub, Meta, Google, AWS, etc. And we'll talk about how. So as I mentioned, you're learning by doing and not watching. What happens in our college curriculum is we have a habit of just uh, learning things like that, when just watching YouTube videos and doing just some set of questions that helps you get good marks. But here everything is on you. Like whatever you are learning is completely on you. It's for example, if you are learning things related to blockchain and you're starting with Solidity, it's really up to you. It's on you how you explore the technology, how you are basically, it's on you how you go ahead with that learning curve, and it's a self-learning process altogether. So that is how you work in companies, right? In companies, no professor or no teacher comes and tells you that this is the technology and you have to learn it, and these are the resources. Nobody's going to spoon feed you. So the self-learning attitude is kind of pushed inside you in this fellowship. And the real world experience is surreal, because I feel that whatever internships we look for here and there, they kind of can, or may or may not give you that kind of exposure and real world experience that MLH Fellowship can give me. It's just unparalleled, because you get to meet people from all over the world, and not even the country. It's all over the world, and you have to be very prompt, and things like that, so that you're able to communicate well with them. And that's how you basically get out of it and learn a lot of things. And yes, learn while you earn. And you get a need based stipend. I think they give you a stipend for the needs that you have. For example, if you're uh, maybe you're renting out a place to live, and maybe they can pay your rent, etc. But the thing is that they'll send out a form to you once you get selected, and you have to fill uh, what for what you need the financial help. So basically they want your learning to be stress free, and that is why they are giving you a stipend, and you get to network, and that's the best outcome after the fellowship. So whatever technologies and all you learn, you are going to learn eventually anyhow, even if you're learning it the hard way. But the best thing that you and that I took away from the MLH Fellowship was the networking part. Even today, when I get stuck in a problem, or if I'm looking for a good project, or if I'm looking for a good tech stack for my project, etc., I have a tendency to ask my MLH community. So it's the networking that helps you a lot. Okay. You can read all of that yourself. Yeah, let's talk about the fellowship tracks. So when I participated in the MLH Fellowship, there were three tracks, which were the Explorer track, the Externship track, and the Open Source track. So they have actually re-engineered the entire fellowship tracks a bit. So the Explorer track, a part of which I was, it is now made a little more beginner friendly, so that anybody who is not having much experience, but they really have the zeal to learn and to the zeal to work in teams and meet new people and just try out new things, even if they lack experience. They have made a separate track for them, which is called the MLH Prep Program. It is the kind of the pre-fellowship program. It's a shorter program. If you remember, I mentioned it is 12 weeks, but this one is beginner friendly and it is just 3 weeks. So if you are a complete beginner and you want to just explore stuff, explore new technologies without the pressure of doing a lot, you can just make mistakes in this fellowship. It's not like um, if you have a lot of experience, only then you'll get selected. Because when I got selected, I was just a second year student with a few projects, and this project I submitted, even today, when people look at that project and they're like, yeah, this is like a nice project, but it's not like a huge big complex project that got you into MLH. It's not like that. It's just that I was very uh, excited about what I'm going to learn in the fellowship. And in the interview, I was very clear about the small project I did. So my project was not very complicated or big. It was just that I was very clear about how I did it and explained it in a very step-by-step manner. And I'll come to that later because that would be another part of interview and everything. So if you're a complete beginner and if you're looking for something, just to get started, I would suggest that you can go for the MLH Prep program. It's a 3-week program, and you'll kind of, get out of your comfort zone to go out there. Let's talk about these three. So the first one is the open source. I think most of you are here to learn about the open source track. So um, here they have opened the open source for the Web 2 and Web 3 projects that are used by thousands of companies around the world. And I think during my fellowship, open source was completely open to any technologies. I think they must be open even now. I'm not sure. You might have to check with them, because during my time, it was like whatever open source projects are given to them by various companies and the partner companies that you saw above, you can contribute to them, and it would be like a real contribution. You're not just doing it for the sake of doing it. You're doing it, and they're actually checking your open source contributions and merging it and all of that. Okay, so open source is about that. Open source track. Basically, you're not building a project from scratch. You're looking for projects of other people, and if you find a bug or if you find a new feature that can be added, you can basically raise a PR and wait for it to get accepted, etc. So yeah, that's about the open source track. The second is the software engineering track, and it requires slightly a bit of more experience, because I think they work on production level code, and they work with all these renowned companies, and they work on real world project. It's not like you are just working on some project that that you're just doing it for the sake of doing it. It's a real world project which is actually working in those companies, and you're working with those partner companies. So that is software engineering. So I think it's more of, it requires a slightly bit of experience. So anybody who is maybe uh, in their third year or final year, who has done some projects and who has some idea of development in various technologies, I would suggest that maybe if you want to build work with other companies and their projects, you can go for the software engineering track. The third one is the site reliability engineering, and this is, I think, mostly about uh, the DevOps work. So I don't have much idea about DevOps, but I think the Kubernetes and Docker and all those technologies, if you're interested in that part of the software building, which is basically, if you know, when the software is built, they are deployed, right? And in the deploying process and the testing process, and basically the reliability part of software using different technologies. If you're interested in that section, then maybe you can go for site reliability engineering. I don't know how many of you are interested in open source or software engineering and site reliability. Okay, let's start with open source. How many of you are inclined more towards open source? Or maybe you want to explore open source. Um, I'm not sure how I can see your reactions.
Yeah, I guess they're raising their hands.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that?
No, I'm not able to see it. Is it the majority?
Yeah, it's around 15 people.
Okay, okay.
So,
So
just before we go forward, can you enlighten them on how to start with open source and what are the other various opportunities they can discover to get into open source?
yeah, okay. So I think one of the great opportunities would be MLH with open source. And apart from that, maybe you can explore GSOC also. And open source is not, something that you need to participate in a program to, be a part of open source community. It's like if you don't know anything, you can just look for very normal, simple web development projects here and there, and you can just raise small pull requests just to see how open source works. You don't have to be a part of a big program to be started with open source, if you're saying it. So let me give you an example. So let's say you have a table in your college, and it's a like a normal wooden table, and somebody comes from out, like that person is not from your college. It's just a guess. Maybe I come to your college and I look at that table. I'm like, yeah, it's good, but maybe I can polish it a bit, and the wooden structure can look even more polished and better. So the your college says that, okay, if you feel that it can be polished and maybe look better and stronger or something, then maybe just take a copy of this table, not a copy, you know I mean, just have like a similar table with you, and try to polish that table and do something with it. And if we like it, we'll do the polish on our table. Make sense? So if you do that, and if you go to that college back and you say that, see, this is how the polished table looks, and they're like, wow, this looks good, so maybe we can polish our own table as well. They are like, okay. So now they merge your request in their table, and that's how it works. Now their table is polished. Basically, they liked your work that you did in the copy, and they are merging it in their original project. So that is the very basic understanding of open source. And the other people can also do like that. Like, for example, some other person comes and they also say that, yeah, maybe we can paint it in this color so that it matches the color theme of our college or something like that. And they're like, yeah, this looks like a good idea. It can match the color theme of our college. And then you take a copy of that polished table, and now you're coloring that table in that particular color theme. And they're like, yeah, this looks good. So this is how open source works. A company, their project is open sourced, which you might have heard here and there, and they open source their code so that it's available to the general public, and they can look at the code and add their bug fix or feature addition, anything like that. You might have heard that in open source, a lot of people who fixed a bug which the company was also not aware of, or maybe the company was not able to fix it, they get a hefty bug bounty for it, which is a lot of money and all. You might have heard it. I heard it, around Facebook and of several more companies in which somebody contributed and they got a hefty bug bounty. So it's like they are rewarding you for a new feature addition that you did or a bug that you fixed. For example, if the table is crooked and the guest that comes, that person says that, okay, we can maybe fix the one of the legs of the table. And yeah, that's fixed. So the college is like, yeah, this table, kept rumbling like that. So it's like you gave the idea and now the table looks good. So that's how you clearly picture open source. And as I said, you don't need a program to get started with open source. For example, I remember when I was in my first year, one of my friends texted me that, Ravisha, I saw your portfolio on your GitHub. Can I contribute to it? I was like, why would you contribute to my portfolio? And that time I did not understand open source, because I was like, okay, why would someone else contribute to my open source, sorry, my portfolio? It is my website, it is my project. Why would someone else add anything to it? But then later I saw this girl, this friend of mine, she just added it, and it did not get merged in my main. So I was like, yeah, it's not hampering anything in my main project. She's just giving an idea that maybe you can change this in your portfolio and it looks good. That's it. So you can start with that small contribution, and your contribution can be as simple as writing a documentation for a project. For example, there are many projects around there who are great. They are great projects, but their documentation is not great. By documentation I mean, basically what is the project, how do you run it in your system, how is it helpful, etc. Basic documentation of that project. So people also go ahead and write the documentation of the project, and that is also included in open source. And it's not like it's just content writing work for a project. No, you need to understand the entire project, then run the project on your system, and then you're able to write the documentation, right? So that is also one of the open source contributions. So maybe until and unless you get selected in either MLH or GSOC programs or any other open source programs that are out there, you can just start by those smaller contributions. That would be my answer.
So yeah, you've told them to contribute, right? So can
Yeah.
you tell where they can have a start, like in GitHub?
Okay.
Yeah, like could you emphasize, put throw some light on that, like how
All
they
right.
can start about and how they can find which projects to contribute and like. So,
Getting.
and
Okay.
will
Hmm.
prior contribution be any help to actually making it to the MLH?
Yes. Actually, in the form, okay, I'll come to your first question later. Let me just complete this. So, in the form, there is a section where they ask you that if you have done any if you have done any open source contributions, please list that. So, basically, you just keep the link of the PR that you raised or something like that, the commit that you made, etc. And they look at your contribution. Basically, they see what changes you made in the project, and that is what they look. For example, if you did like a very good open source contribution in some of the project, uh, they might prefer you because they will understand that, oh, you understood the entire project and then you are able to fix something or add something. So that's, yeah, that is there in the MLH form. And coming to your first question, where they can look. So GitHub is an ocean of projects, and I think very you can just start with, for example, if you're interested in web development, you can start by Googling maybe React projects or web development projects on GitHub, etc. Or maybe you can when the results come out, when you Google and the results come out, try to see if the project interests you at all. For example, if it is a project, let's say exercise tracker, and it's like, no, maybe this does not interest me. And if there is a similar React project, and you're like the module of the package of React that the person is using seems interesting to me. Maybe they're using Material UI, and you're like, nah, Material UI is much interesting than that React project. So maybe I'll contribute to Material UI. So randomly choosing is not the answer, but the answer is, the number one, you should be interested in that project. You should, the project should appeal to you so that you can be, having that energy to look at the entire code. And when I look for projects, I generally look that the code should somehow look good to me, because it's hard for people to look at a completely new code and understand it and make changes to it. So that is why you say that whenever you write code, you should write neat and clean, good code, so that other people who are not aware of your code also understands what you're writing. So I think that's how you should look for projects. Try to understand the code. Try to look for the technologies that they are using. and the project purpose that they have, if they are looking for any bug fix, etc. If they have any issues listed on their tab. For example, let me show you any project. Mm, okay, what's happening? One of the projects I happen to. This is the issues tab. Okay, I'm not sure if they have listed anything out here. So this is the issues tab, and generally the projects put out the issues or things that they want to add in their project. So if one of the issues, you don't have to look for issues, even if you are, you know, connecting with any of the issues listed in the project, you can also go ahead and try to work on that. I think I did on one of the projects, it was related to an Unsplash API. Let me find it. Give me a moment. Okay, this was the MLH Fellowship repository. Okay, yes. Yes, for example, this is the project, and you find some issue here, and let's say you just open SRC and you find some, you find that maybe you can add, or maybe you can just refactor the code, nothing else. So all you need to do is that this code is already refactored, so I can't show you. This code that you see right here was very dirty in the initially, and we kept doing things to make it to reach to this extent. And that time when I was writing code, I did not even know much about how to break our code base into smaller files. So even if you don't have to add anything and you want to basically refactor the entire code base, that can also be a great open source contribution. So yeah, the conclusion would be that maybe you can look for, first of all, you need to Google with respect to the technologies that you're looking for, or maybe the domain of technologies, and then you need to look at the code base, the purpose of the project, the issues that they have already listed in their issues tab, and if one of the issues is appealing you and you want to work on that issue, etc., and you want to fix that or something else, and then maybe you can need to raise your pull request. So mostly what I do is just make a fork and then raise a new pull request, and just write a comment, and your comment should be, you know it should make sense. It should, the person should understand why you are working on that pull request, and what exactly you're fixing and how you exactly you're fixing. So that's how you do it. I think they did it something. Yes. uh, this was the battle version or something. Yeah, so as you can see, the person has written every commit message of how they have integrated battling, and the whatever pages that they have added, whatever points they have connected using Solidity, etc. So the project owner, will be able to see all the commits and will be able to compare the recent commit and their project. So that's how they'll be able to merge your pull request also. So yeah, that would be my answer. I hope I was able to answer that.
Yeah, I guess people can now know where to start and they can start making pull requests and start their contribution to open source.
Yes.
Can you like tell about your application process and how to apply? Like, how can people start and what's the process exactly?
Yeah.
Can you have a walk? Can we
Okay.
have a walkthrough of it?
Yes, that's the interesting part. So when you apply for MLH Fellowship, you have relatively, lengthy form. You just don't have to fill your name, email address. No, it's a very good, nice form, and they try to assess your candidature a lot through that form. So make sure that you fill the form very wisely, and because that's one of the major steps that happens, and then you get the interview. So I think there are a few things in the form that you need to take care of. One of them is the essay writing. So I think one of the questions is, why do you want to be an MLH fellow? Why do you want to do the fellowship? And the second is, I think, what are your experiences, your achievements? What are your experiences with different technologies, etc.? And there are two, three questions. That's it. And you need to write your crisp and to the point answers to to those essays. Make sure that you're writing as much as strengths as possible. For example, if you're writing, um, why do you want to be an MLH fellow? Don't try to write some very normal cliche answers that that is like, yeah, I'm very excited to learn new technologies. That's a very cliche answer, and people know that maybe you're not very interested. You just want to have something on your resume, and that is why you are here. So when you're writing the answer, actually think and reflect why exactly you're applying. For example, if you're applying to open source, um, give maybe some example from your own life why open source attracted you, or why you felt that maybe you can explore open source and contribute something to the community, etc. So your essays should have separate, distinct points, and it should be crisp. Don't repeat your points, because I think people, when they send me their essays, I feel that maybe they tend to repeat the same points, that I'm very excited, I'm very curious, I'm ready to learn. So these are all three same points. So don't repeat your points. Try to have distinct points and very crisp essays. So that was about essay writing. There's one section in which you need to put your project. So try to choose a project in which you are doing some, you're solving something basically. So as I said, my project was small, and it was basically like a game, not a game, but I was just trying to uh, mathematically solve something and show it on the screen using visualizations of pygame. If you've heard about pygame is a module of Python which visualizes using boxes and geometrical patterns. So I used that module to basically visualize a mathematical thing that I had. So it was a small project, but um, it was solving something, and I was able to put some logic into the project to get through it. So if you choose that kind of a project, it's going to be wonderful, because if you choose something, for example, if you build a website and it's not really doing anything, you're just having an HTML CSS nice page on your screen. It's nice, you're learning something, but for the purpose of submission of project, you need to solve something, or at least there should be a purpose of your project. So try to choose wisely. And even if it is a small project, try to be very, very clear with what exactly you have done. For example, if you're working on a Python project, you should know that you should know your project in and out. You should know the technologies, why you did this, and why you chose a particular tech stack, where did you get stuck, and how did you get out of it, etc. So that is actually going to help you in your interview, because they completely ask you about your project in your technical interview. So make sure you're very, very clear about your project. So that was about the project. And I think in some of the sections of the form, you have to highlight your achievements. I'm not sure, I don't recall properly, but I think your achievements. But MLH has this distinct quality that they don't really look for past achievements. They look for your present project and the clarity of the project that you have. And in the interview, they also look for the zeal, of learning. Uh, so that is, I think that's the overall overview of the application form. And the only tip I would give is that please be distinct, don't be repetitive, and the crispness of your form is going to help you. And try to be as honest as possible, because if you try to write false things in your form, that, oh, I'm very good at web development, I'm great at React, something like that, using vague terms or something like that, it's not going to help, because they are judging multiple applications every day. So it's not going to help if you write something exaggerated or vague. So try to be very to the point when you're filling the application form. And the next step comes is your interview. Once your application gets shortlisted from the form, you are going to give a technical interview. And basically, the technical interview is the project interview. You need to talk about your project and the project that you submitted. There's a section in the form in which you have to submit the link of the project. So let's say this one is your project. You just copy the link, crypto mall, whatever, front end, and you just copy it and just put it in the form. That's it. And what I did was, in my interview, that I just opened the GitHub repository and I showed, first of all, the structure of my project, so that the person is almost aware of what exactly is happening in the project, the structure, basically the flow, the diagrammatic flow of the project. And then I started talking about how I built it. So first I talked about how I built the logic, and then I said that, okay, this logic was failing in this particular situation, and then I fixed it using this. And then I thought that, okay, this project is working now. How about if I add some visualization? So I looked for a visualization tool, which was Pygame in Python. And I loved it. So I learned Pygame and I started trying to visualize that mathematical logic that I built. And also, one more tip, try to keep separate functions distinct. For example, one logic should not be cluttered inside another function. The functions and files should be separate, so that any person who is judging your project from outside externally will be able to understand what exactly is going on. If you put everything in the same file, or if you put every logic in the same function, the person, maybe the project is wonderful and you're very satisfied, but the person who is looking from outside won't be able to understand and get the best out of it. So try to make your project very well organized, and in the interview, try to explain it from the scratch till the top. So start how you started building the project, and then you talk about how you reached the end, and then you talk about the challenges you face and how you overcome it using technical terms. And almost, you should be prepared for the technologies that you're using. And let's say you're not able to answer any question related to the tech stack, just honestly say that, okay, I am not aware of this part of the technology. I'll look for it. Just don't, say that, I don't know. Try to have an approach towards the question in such a way that the person feels that, oh, you are still looking for an answer. You're not just done. You're like, okay, fine, I'll look for the solution. I'll try to find it. For example, one of the things that happened in my interview was they asked me, uh, what about if you add this feature, or what about, why didn't you use this? So I said that actually I was trying to use this, but I thought maybe this can break my code base or something, and I won't be able to move forward. So do you have any suggestions? And because I knew at that moment that I did not have an answer. I did not know that new technology that the person was talking about. So I just asked the person that, okay, can you give me a suggestion of how to improve this project, or how to hone this project better? So I think that's how your approach should be in the interview. And once you're done with your technical interview, they're going to call you for like an HR interview. It's a general interview in which they talk about your eligibility and just your passion for MLH and open source and whatever track you have applied to. And they might also ask you your ultimate, your eventual goals, ambitions, etc. Just a general interview, just to know about your personality overall. And that's how the application goes for MLH.
So yeah, I guess that gives clarity on how to apply for MLH, and I hope most of the people here would apply for MLH now.
Yes, I hope
Uh,
so too.
Yeah. Can you also tell about the stipend part? Like how much is it, and is
Yeah.
negotiating for stipend going to play a role in us being selected for MLH or not?
Okay, so as I mentioned, they'll roll out a form once you get selected. Once you get selected and you accept the offer, they are going to roll out a form, and you need to fill your details. What are the things you need? For example, that time I was, I think, renting a place. So I just said that I'm living in a rented place. So maybe if I'm getting the rent, it would be beneficial for me.
Yeah.
And anything related to learning. For example, um, maybe you need anything, any need based things. Okay, so your living expenses, your food expenses, anything that you need. And basically you just need to fill the daily needs or the need that you'll have throughout the fellowship. And the amount of the the approximate amount that you need for the stipend. And then it's up to them to decide what stipend they want to pay you. Generally they pay you the amount that you ask for. And but they also look for the various criteria that they have listed in the need based form. So it's really on them on how much stipend going to get, but you can also write your own amount in the form. And yes, I did a mistake in the form. I actually, they asked for the total stipend that you're asking for, and I thought it's the stipend per month, and I put a number, and I was like, okay, this is the number I'm going to get per month. And when the stipend started rolling out, I got to know that okay, this was the total stipend for 3 months, for 12 weeks. So make sure you don't do that mistake. That the total stipend is for the entire duration of fellowship.
Okay, that's great. I mean, that won't affect the procedure, right? Like,
No, that's a completely separate thing. It's the money thing is completely separate.
oh, yeah.
Yes.
So if you could tell about your experience during MLH and
Yes,
about
sure.
things you learned after you were into MLH, like how did it help you?
Yes, sure. So, yeah, before MLH, I hardly had any experience with working in projects and teams. So, I think one of the good experiences was that I had to collaborate with people from all over the world. And one of the best things that I learned was that someone is from USA, someone is from Canada, and their time zones were different. So a lot of times we had difficulty in collaborating with them and having, setting up meetings with them, etc. So their communication plays a role, and how you are coordinating with your teammates so that the best project can come out to you. Also, one of the things that I learned was that you need to basically try to plan. It's not easy to plan out your project and how you're going to build, etc. But try to plan and delegate the tasks accordingly. And one of the things that I felt was sometimes I used to get a part of the project in the technology that I was somewhat aware of, and sometimes I used to get the part in which I had to work on some completely new technology. So I think the balance of both is important, so that you don't always feel the intimidacy that you don't know anything. There should be a balance, and I think that's what one of the things I learned. Sometimes I was working on very basic React, and React is like HTML, CSS only. Like, if you're doing the very basic thing, it's like HTML, CSS. So that time I was really enjoying. And but when something really different came out, I was like, okay, I need to learn this. And I used to very clearly communicate with my team that, uh, I'm not aware of this technology, and maybe I'll need not one, not two, maybe 3 days to work on this task. And eventually at the end of the week I was becoming very good at that technology, and I was able to grasp things out. So I was able to learn different technologies. And first, I think I worked on the entire pod, worked on the pod portfolio. It was an amazing portfolio that we built. It was minions. It was the theme was minions. And we built a very colorful portfolio with all the pictures of the pod members, etc. It was a React portfolio. and then we came on to data security and data ethics, etc. And then at the end of the fellowship, I also contributed to another project, which was using the Unsplash API, and that was an open source contribution. And I was able to learn how to, how to fetch the API data and how to put it nicely on your front end, etc. These were the technical learnings, and I talked about the non-technical learnings as the team learnings, and I was able to collaborate and communicate effectively, etc. So I think those were my learnings experiences.
Yeah, the like it's motivating to know what you've learned after joining MLH to actually get into MLH.
Sorry, I did not get your question.
It wasn't a question. Like I was telling, what you learned after getting into MLH motivates people to actually join MLH.
Okay, so you're asking if
No,
I
no, I
mean,
was telling that.
okay, that was not a question.
Yeah,
Okay, it's okay.
I guess now we can open the floor for uh,
Yeah, sure.
yeah. Uh, Anyone who has questions can raise their hands, and they can unmute themselves and ask the questions after that.
I think there is the chat option available for you as well, right? I'm not able to see any chat.
Yeah, actually, even I'm not sure if there's a chat option available.
I don't think there it is there because I'm not able to see it. Someone is trying to say something, I guess, but
Uh, if anyone has a doubt, you can just raise your hand. We can go one after the other.
I enable the Q&A option. If anyone needs to ask questions, they can.
Yeah,
yeah, the
then-
Q&A option is there.
yeah, the chat option is enabled.
What if we don't have any project?
Um, if you don't have any project, I would suggest that you should work on a project and then apply, because there is a mandatory section where you need to submit your project. So MLH Fellowship keeps on going on every quarter. So it's like a 12 weeks program, right? It's like a 3 month, and it I think goes on for four times a year, 4 times a year. So it's not like if you don't apply right now, you can't apply in the next batch. So I think you have 3 months maybe, and try to work on a good project and then apply. That would be my suggestion.
Thanks.
Guys, you can also post your questions on in the Q&A section.
Hello. Is there a particular skill set which is mandatory, like the skills which are mandatory for MLH, or nothing like that?
No, there are no mandatory skill set as such.
Is it compulsory to have any group projects, or can an individual project also help?
No, it's not mandatory to have a group project. It's not mandatory to have an individual project. It can be anything, but your contribution should be prominent and significant so that you're able to talk about your contribution. And I'm trying to say that if you're working on a team project, your contribution should be significantly visible so that you're able to talk about your contribution and what exactly you did, and how it's helping the project, etc. Give me a moment. I need to put my laptop on charge.
Yeah, sure. Guys, in the meantime, if anyone has questions, you can type it out in the Q&A section.
Do we have to pay any money while we are filling applications?
No, no, no. You don't have to put any money. You're going to get money if you get selected.
Okay, there are two questions in the chat section. I'll read them for you. Yeah, one is as mentioned in the application, Jupyter's notebook should not be used for project submission. Could you suggest an alternative for Python projects?
I think GitHub would be my answer. I'm not sure how it works, but I think they accept any project in GitHub. So you can maybe try to push your entire Jupyter project on your GitHub and then submit that repository.
The next one is, can you share the project that you made, which got you into MLH?
Yes, maybe, but I'm not sure if you're allowed to do that. So yeah, people do ask me to share it, but that is why I give so much of overview about the project and how I explained it, so that people have a rough idea of how what I submitted. But I don't think I'm allowed to share the project that got me into it. Maybe I am. I'm not sure actually. If I'll be sure, I'll forward it to maybe Tapan or Supriya or someone, and maybe you can just check out the project.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Yeah. So I'll just give the brief overview again in case you want to know. So it was a Python project. I tried to build a logic of grids. I'm giving a lot of information. So I don't think they don't allow, but I'm not sure. So I built like a logic using Python code, and then I added a Pygame module on top of it and tried to visualize that mathematical logic on the screen. That was the project. It was a very simple, like a game project, but I think the logic and the explanation got me in.
Okay, that's great. I guess uh, that gives an overview of what the project was, and you've already addressed, like, rather than what the project should be, how you should be able to write the essay to sell
Right,
your project. Yeah.
right.
Uh, so anyone else who has any other doubts or any questions, you can ask now.
Oh, I'm able to see the questions now. What skill set would give you an edge over others? Edge over others. Um, I think the clarity of your skill set would give you an edge over others, and not the number of skill set or which skill set. Um, I would suggest maybe web is a good thing to have on your resume. Maybe the web development projects like React or any technologies that interests you. And apart from that, that is different. Anything related to Python or something, so that you have some variety on your profile might help. Try to have variety. Maybe I did not have a lot of variety, but I had like 2, 3 different domains project. One was the web development, the other was Python and something like, and the other was Flutter at that time. So I think the variety helps. It's not because they look for how much you are able to learn and how much you're able to quickly get into a new project, right? Because that's what happens in companies. You don't really say that, oh, I know Java, so I only want to work with Java. If they someday just comes and tells you that no, you have to work with C++, you're a software engineer, so it's like, yeah, give me C++, I'll do it. So variety maybe can help. Um, it's not like if you have web development, they'll prefer you over someone who knows app development. I don't think it's like that. I don't think that's how it works. Mm, I think we answered the next question.
Yes, the next questions were answered.
Any other question, guys?
Wow. Okay, I guess all the queries are already resolved, so people don't have really much
I
questions.
think I talked in a
Yeah,
lot of detail, so
you
it's hard for people.
yeah, you actually covered everything. So I guess everyone's like,
Yeah, so people may not be having any queries. It's okay.
yeah. So
Also, Tapan, I would appreciate some feedback if you get from the audience later on, and maybe you can forward that to me.
okay, we can do that too.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it was great having you here. It was really informative, and I guess most of us are now aware of what MLH and open source is, and I guess we can now get our hands dirty with open source and stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it
Thank you
was
so much for having me. It
yeah,
was a great
it's
evening
our
for me as
pleasure.
well. Okay, then I guess that's it for today.
Yeah, we can end the webinar, I guess.
Yes. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
guys. Bye bye.
and thank you everyone for being here. It was great having you guys.